if you're joining us online, to have you join us for a short Shabbat service, as well as then an opportunity to immerse ourselves in the weekly parsha, the text study. So we're gonna, I know, you don't come to me to sing, I get it. It's all right. But I do find great comfort in the words of the liturgy and in the rhythm of it together. And so we'll spend some time in those prayers together. If you are one of those people who has a beautiful voice, and I'm not staring at you, but I am staring at you, and you want to sing loudly from, I don't know, the back row, I'm just saying that is a most welcome gift to our community. We're going to start, it's going to be a little informal because it's me. And we're going to start with the words, Hine Matov, how good it is. They are on page 2 in your prayer book. And they are behind me and in front of me and everywhere. Because indeed, how good it is to be together. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. And since we're an unusual grouping tonight, perhaps make sure you know the names of at least one person sitting near you, welcoming them here into this sanctuary of prayer. If we laugh alike, you can tell it's my mom. Oh. Is there anybody who would like to add light to this sanctuary by lighting our Shabbat candles? Anybody who wants to come on up and light candles? I will call on you. So it's better just to volunteer. It's Ash, do you want to light candles? Okay, I'm biased. I called on my own child. You admit it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the words, Baruch Hu, dear one, calling each other home into this sanctuary of prayer. I am happy to, but does anybody want to be the call versus the response along with me? Great, thank you. Baruch Hu, dear one, Shekhinah, holy name, when I call on the light of my soul, I come home. Baruch Dear one, Shekhinah, holy name, when I call on the light of my soul, I come home. We turn to the bottom of page 17. You have your prayer books. Listening, standing in witness. You can stand if you are accustomed to standing during the Shema. This is one of the great debates. No, it really is. Do you stand or sit? Traditionally, you do not stand for the Shema. The Reform movement had you stand up for the Shema because at a certain point we were emphasizing belief as a part, as opposed to practice, which makes sense if you think about the origins of the Reform movement. And so whereas traditionally you stand for the Amidah, the standing prayer, the Reform movement had you standing for the Shema, the statement of faith, probably the only statement of faith in the tradition. Yeah.
You're supposed to say it when you're rising up and lying down. At least some of that time you're going to be lying down. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to be standing up because you're lying down.
It's true. That's right. So we are going to listen, stand, and witness the oneness that is all, that all our lives are connected to one another and to everyone on the planet. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. And remaining standing, we turn to the Amidah, the first three blessings which we sing together in community. And because the last lights are creeping into our sanctuary here, after our communal prayers, this is true every week, but a particular invitation. If the windows are calling you either side and you want to spend some time just with the beauty of the moment as our day fades, you are most welcome. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim Ve'konei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magin Baruch atah Adonai Magin Avraham Bezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechayei Hakol Atah Rav Lehoshia Mechakel Chaim Bechet hayota kol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom ya'alelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. When the world is sick, can't no one be well? And I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. What a vision. As we turn our thoughts and our hearts and our hopes to healing, our community prays for Karen Grossman, Karen Owen Schwartz, Nan Owens, Paul Schlichtman, for Liliana Wolheim Martinez, for Lois Marlin, for Neil Daniels Midman, Jeremy Harry, for Paula Small, Joe Mansfield, Harriet Snyder, Lynn Bishop, Barney Weinstock, for Richard Shore, Stanley Roth, Richard Milbauer, for Deb Midman, Debbie Gilman, for Andy, Jeff, and Jenny Vanderpool, for Annie Graham and her family, Anya Kalbel, and Sue Boardman. If there's somebody you are praying for, somebody whose name you'd like to share here in this sanctuary, in this community, please raise your hand. It'd be an honor to invite you to do so. For those named, for all in need, we join in these words: when the world is sick, can't no one be well? Please join me. When the world is sick, can no one be well? And I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. When the world is sick, can no one be well? And I dreamt we were all beautiful and strong. Ahana elna refana la. Ahana elna refana la. Ahana elna refana la. Ahana elna refana la. simple and audible, Dan, and we're going to sing an Oseh Shalom together in community. We'll just wait a second for these words to appear, because I didn't actually list Oseh Shalom in my prayer list for Dan this evening, which isn't nice of me. Yeah, but I'm going to wait because so few people hold prayer books these days that I'm going to just, well, some of us. You've had one at home. You bought a copy. Yeah. I love nothing more than when prayer books and Jewish books go for walks. That's totally good with me. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Turning to the words of Mourner's Kaddish, turning our hearts to those who we've lost at this season in years past, those who feel particularly present this time. And I say this line every week, and somebody told me they don't know what I'm talking about. Those who have no one to say their name for them. So I'll take a moment to say that my understanding is in part that the Reform movement chooses for everybody to rise during Mourner's Kaddish post-World War II, because entire family lines disappeared. And so there's no one to say the names of those who have gone for them. And we honored last week in our sanctuary Yom HaShoah. It was this past week as well. And so it seems particularly important today to acknowledge that which disappeared, and that we are the bearers of a tradition that could have disappeared, that didn't. And what an honor it is to offer our words in memory of all who have been lost. We stand and acknowledge the yard site of Myra Perez and Jerry Malman, who is Sandy Joe's father, and I know that her sister Michelle always joins us online. We get a Shabbat Shalom from her every week. And we are in this year of memory, this first year from a loss for Alan Travis, for Mark Frater, Diana Sanders, for Connie Stolo, and Ed Snow. If there is someone you are remembering, someone whose name you'd like to share, please raise your hand. Andy.
Michael Tilson Thomas.
Thank you.
My father, Paulson. Lucy Greenberg.
My friend and colleague, Paul Baker.
Let us join our voices in this sacred act of remembering. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach irtei v'yamlich malchutei, be'chayecho uvyomecho, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam ulamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha b'richu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata Damiram Be'alma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Ose Shalom B'mromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'imru Amen. May the one who makes peace in the heavens make peace for us, for Israel and all who dwell on earth, as together we say. Amen. You may be seated. You can put your prayer books away if you're holding one. You can make a pile up here too. I can take them from you if you'd like. I realize now only 4 of you are stuck holding a prayer book while we text study together. And if you could bring up the first slide. This week we have a double portion, so we're going to be here until midnight. It was a nice face. It's like Shavuot early. It's a pre-Shavuot treat. We have a double portion. It's one of the things that happens on the years when we don't have a leap month. We need to keep our cycle lined up with the seasons. We keep our reading cycle and our holiday cycle lined up with the seasons by inserting and removing a month, the month of Adar. It's not quite at random, but it certainly feels like it's at random which months, which years it's in and which it's not. This is a not, you can tell, because we have the double portions. So if you're getting double portions, you're not reading, you've lost a month in your reading cycle. And this is the summary of what happens in both Parshiot. So does anybody want to be my first reader?
Sure.
Great, thanks, Hi. I'm just gonna read straight down the page for us, just so we're all sitting in the same place in the text.
Okay. The duties that the head Kohen must perform on Yom Kippur are delineated, and the ceremony of the scapegoat is outlined. Moses instructs Aaron about the Yom Kippur laws for fasting and atonement. Warnings are issued against the offering of sacrifices outside the sanctuary and the consumption of blood. Moses condemns the sexual practices of some neighboring peoples. Certain forms of sexual relations are prohibited. God issues a variety of commandments instructing the Israelites on how to be a holy people. Various sex offenses are discussed and punishments for them are presented.
Thank you. And can we have the next slide? How you're doing such a great job. All right, I'm going to do the Hebrew, and then will you do the English? Vayedaber Adonai al Moshe lemor daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael v'amarta alehem kedoshim tihiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem.
God spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the whole Israelite community and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, the eternal, your God, am holy."
Thanks. All right, that's it. I figured if we could do 2 verses, it'd be a miracle. We'll have a miracle here in our itty-bitty sanctuary. What questions do you have of these verses? They seem simple. They are, I promise, according to the commentators, far from simple.
Okay, well, if we have time, is it on? Yeah. If we have time for one verse, can we talk about that last one there?
You don't want to do God said to Moses?
No, I don't want to talk about sexual offenses or the scapegoat.
No, this is what we're talking about.
This is good.
This
Okay.
is it. This is,
Yeah,
the
this
rest
is a
of it
good
is
one.
all that happens, but we're not going to spend a whole lot of Shabbat on it together.
All right, so I'm confused by number 2.
Okay, what
Because
confuses?
what confuses me is God's holy, we're holy. Well, what's the difference here? Because we certainly can't be gods.
Okay, good. So I love this question. What is the relationship between the two words holy? I did it. I'm sorry. That was the first one. I'm sure it'll happen again. You're going to have to flip it on because otherwise I'm going to set it off. What is the relationship between the two words holy, and what does it mean if God can be holy and humans can be holy, and how are those compared? Yeah, okay. Yep.
Yeah, my question is, what does it mean for us to be holy? What does that mean?
Okay. What does it mean for us to be holy? Anybody got an answer? Annie's got an answer.
I'm sorry, I always have an answer.
No, I'll take it. It's okay, because I never have one, so you're good.
That's not true, Carrie. I, just from all of my reading of text, I think what is meant here by to be holy is to behave in a way that is difficult for human beings, which means to always be behaving, I don't know how to describe it, always to be acting out of your Yetzer Tov, and
So
not your Yetzer
translate-
Hara.
Translate
To always
Yetzer
be acting
Tov.
out of your good inclination and not your evil inclination. And those terms are very specific in our tradition, that your good inclination is, your will to do well, to be kind to others, so on and so forth. But your Yetzer Tov is really your ego. So it's to be acting out of selflessness rather than selfishness, or a sense of community, or reaching for a moral high ground. That's what it is to be holy.
Okay, so keep in mind, we're going to offer as many answers as we can, and then we're going to see if we can complicate those answers. One answer to be holy is to be constantly acting from, trying to act from the Yetzer Tov, the good place, the communal place within you. Helen? There you go.
Well, I guess it seems to me that, I don't know, the most straightforward, interpretation of what the text is saying is that, because God is holy and God created us in his image, then, by extension, we are also holy.
Thank you. Okay, so another answer for what it means to be holy, Helen, is to be a part of God's creation, right? This is not an accidental moment that you are standing here, sitting here, or I am standing here, right? That there is some sense that we carry within us that spark of creation, right? And that spark is part of how we live, right? And I want to say a comment about the simple reading. It's really important in the Jewish tradition that you always offer the simple reading. There's a tradition of interpretation, and Todd got to study with an institute named after it called Pardes, which is you study the Peshat first, which is the simple meaning first, then you do the remez, and then you do the drash, and more and more esoteric meanings can come with each reading, but you always start with the simple reading. And so it is never too simple to offer into a study session like this what you're reading in the text. So I just want to put that out there for everybody. Thank you, Helen.
And if indeed we're part of the creation, we're also part of the Creator, in that we are actively creating on this earth.
Good. So we are not just recipients of holiness, but we are enactors of holiness. Yep. Beth, did I see your hand?
So the way I interpret it is you are commanded to have a relationship with God in some way. Because God's holy, and God's holiness rubs off on you, and therefore you need to have a connection with God.
So like attracts like, or they parallel each other?
Yeah, and I cheated a little bit, and I looked up what the next couple verses are. And the next verse is a mini version of the Ten Commandments. It's like 3 of them. And it says, honor your father and mother, and you shall keep the Sabbaths. So.
So first there's the connective piece. God and you both have something in common. But then there are also certain key principles or rules that are returned to over and over again. Honor your father and mother. I'm so sad Ash left the room right before we got to that. And then as well, what we're doing right here, right? Celebrating Shabbat and keeping it together in community. So how we act, how we live seems to be a part. It's something integral to who we are, but it's also something we do.
Well, I want to follow up on that because I feel like the context of this is that the laws that Hashem is laying out, which we read all the time, 613 commandments, however many there are, that's how we shall be holy.
Mm-hmm.
I think this can be seen as a very specific. You shall be holy if you follow my commandments, which is said over and over again in the Torah.
Good. So it really emphasizes by its location that it's sort of central, that these are the ways, right? You don't have to make it up. I've given you 613 opportunities for you to bring holiness into your life. Thanks. Hi. We're going to just work our way down and then we'll work our way back.
I want to ask the question that I just answered, because I think you answered a different question. When you say shall be holy, is this conditional or is this I am holy, period? I'm not sure.
So it's a good question. So is the holiness, I think Aaron is asking, tell me if this is right, is the holiness that is within us conditional? Is that, yeah, okay, is that a fair restatement or?
Yeah, it's the same thing,
Or is it intrinsic? Right, no matter what, are you holy or are you, because you do these things, holy, right? This is a good question we're going to ask of this text. I'm going to work our way back. It keeps turning off on you.
This is from a Musar perspective. We've been studying this, and it's also just came up in the Omer counter I'm using this year, which is Yael Levy's Omer counter. And so, in Musar, we sort of consider before we do things. We don't just act on autopilot. And so I think being holy is like, for every choice you make, is ask yourself, is this going to lift me or someone else up, or is it going to bring me down? So, of course, we can't, analyze that all the time, every single minute. But that's the general idea, I think, is that just, make choices that lift ourselves and others up.
You're going to be al-sheikh, okay? You're going to be a medieval commentator in about 2 minutes.
Medieval?
Yeah, 16th century, you're fine. No, I'm going to have you read something that is going to say what you, I think, about what you're saying. Yeah.
So I had a similar thought to what Aaron was speaking to, that it didn't say you are holy without any strings attached. It seemed like the shall, if that was the word in Hebrew, translated as such, was really either a prelude to commandments or almost an entreaty to say you have the capacity to be holy because I am, but you have to do things to get there.
I love this. So the question is, what is the form? And we will come to that question. It's tihiyu. And what is it trying to teach? And I love that you lifted up 2 possible interpretations, because one is a command, you said, I think was the word, and one is you asked. Well, it's the imperative. It can be the imperative. It's not. It's future, but it's got a irregular to it, so it seems like it's got a question mark to it. Yeah, and so I want to lift up here this idea, this question: is it tihiyu exclamation point? Is it tihiyu please? Right? Those are 2 very different readings or ways of relating to this idea that holiness is going to be a part of your life. I saw hands back here.
Yeah.
You have hands. 2 of them, they look great.
I was going to respond, I think, to what you said. What is your name?
Helen
Helen, yeah.
or Paul?
Well, both of you, actually. I mean, in the whole conversation, it's like a red thread, as they say. But no, I mean, just the idea of having that spark of creation in you, I feel is very attractive. And it's great that that's sort of the first thing that you think of, and that, because when you get to all the commandments part, then it seems like, you know, I liked also what
Aaron or Lynn?
Lynn said, you know, about choice and choosing, because I was going to use the word intention, because it seems as though, you know, the commandments are a very big part of it, and it's how you prove that you're being holy. But you also, there is also another piece which seems to be that we mark ourselves culturally. Like in the text we read before that said, you know, those people over there are doing those sexual practices that we don't want to have anything to do with. It's kind of like they do that, you don't do that, and you also keep Shabbat on Saturday, not on Sunday, and you also do this and that almost arbitrarily, you know, just kind of, some of the laws are very, you know, full of Jewish values, full of tikkun olam, full of caring for people. But then some of them are just kind of arbitrary. You just do it. I mean, maybe it's just my lack of understanding about the cubits and all that. I mean, I know we actually did a great teaching during Bat Mitzvah class about all the cubits and building the dwelling, you know, the thing. But I think there is some reasoning, but I can't remember what it is. So it seems kind of like, you know, why do we do these things? It's just because I say so. And the more you do it, the more you show me that you're following me, my commandments, but you are me, but then it becomes very circular and confusing. So.
Good. So I think you brought up a couple of really important points there. With one, if you start from the premise of the creation and the sort of inherent holiness, that's a really lovely place to start. If you don't start from there, is that what I was hearing? If you don't start from there, or if you note that the word Kedoshim is from the root kadosh, which is from a root that means separate. And you see that in that first slide I made poor Hai read, there's about 3 or 4 different comparisons to external groups, right? There does seem to be this, you will act in this way, you will separate yourself, you will be separated. And if you remove that creation bit of the story, you can find yourself in a very uncomfortable position. And even with the creation bit, you could find yourself saying things that you don't necessarily feel great about thinking about the world in those ways, right? So I always think it's important that we name when an ancient text that we're looking to for meaning, right, is going to have a different worldview than we might be carrying, right? And some of this question about if holiness is separateness, right, is something that is likely to have shifted from the ancient world to what most people in the modern world are feeling, although we keep Shabbat on Saturday, right? And there was a move in the Reform movement to move it to Sunday. We tried, and it turns out it didn't quite feel Jewish. I don't, you know, and so you do have this need or difference that seems to be part of the identity, and all of this gets sort of smushed together into these 2 ideas or these 2 questions. Yeah, Helen, had I seen your hand?
I was just going to say, because you know, we were talking about, is the holiness, is it conditional or not? And I guess that's maybe like contingent on whether you interpret it as like we're holy because we were made by God in God's image, so we just are inherently, and nothing can like take that away, or whether you look at it as it is through our actions that we're holy. And in that case, I guess it is conditional.
And do you personally feel either that this text or you yourself feel pulled towards one of these ideas at this very moment?
I guess I'm more inclined to the interpretation that we're inherently holy.
So am I. Shh, don't tell.
But I think it's both. And I don't struggle with that. I think you have to hold both ideas in your head. So there's an expectation that your attitude towards other people is that they're all made in the image of God. Shai Held had a great image for this in a writing that he did where he talked about the idea of angels preceding you and saying, make way for a king, because you are made in the image of God, royal person, shall we say. And at the same time, your behavior matters, and it matters a lot. And if you want to separate yourself from the mundane, then this is the work. And it's not just the work in our tradition, it's the work in all religious traditions. So it's some kind of an urge in us that is inherent, whether you believe that there's an external God or not, I think.
Beautiful.
Beth opened the barn door by saying she read ahead a couple of verses.
I'm taking all your phones away. I'm confiscating them at the door from now on, like I do with our 6th graders.
But what she mentioned, but I think what she mentioned was sort of important because it ties to this, in that the next one of honoring mother and father is honoring the tradition, followed by not making false gods, not making idols. So you've really, in the next 2 verses, packaged what this whole means to be holy, to maintain the tradition, to be in the tradition, and not to stray off with the golden calves of the world.
Yeah, and to add to that idea that not only is it the next, you can see the next verses as a continuation of the story, but if you include Shabbat in there, one of the ideas about Shabbat, which is so radical, is that you are more than what you create, right? That you have a value from just existing, and that value gets disappeared in this world, right? And that once a week we are commanded to sort of stand still and say, I am not my capabilities. I am not what I have achieved. I am something else, along the lines of what you were saying, the imagery of there is something inherent in me.
This leaves us with a problem, I think.
Tell me your problem.
Which is that we just think we said that doing these practices helps make us holy. So does that mean the people who don't do them are less holy? Oh, cognitive dissonance is great.
Oh, you got a response though.
Well, I feel like maybe according to the text, like maybe the intended takeaway is supposed to be that, that it does depend on what you practice. But there is also, I do remember, a verse like about, for we were all made in the image of God. So I guess it's just, there are these sort of different ideas in the text itself.
Yeah, I think both ideas are sitting right here in these 2 verses. Maybe actually just in 1 verse, because the first verse I gave you just so you knew who was talking, right? But there's this verse more than anything perhaps that I've encountered in the text offers 2 ideas about holiness, right? In these short, tiny little words, you have something within that is holy, and you have the opportunity to be holy, right? Which is a movement. Is it a movement from holiness to holiness? Is it, it's an interesting question, but I think that both of these ideas, Helen, are really sort of alive in this verse for us. Thank you.
I wasn't going to get into propositional logic, but Aaron kind of forced it on me. So you know that if A leads to B, then not B leads to not A. So if you don't act in a holy manner, that means that this is not your God, and God will withdraw. And that we see that happening in the Bible when God withdraws.
All right, so this is it's beautiful. There are pieces of our tradition that suggest that this is a plea by God, that this is not so much a commandment, but that this is a plea to please stay close, to be in this relationship in that way. So I guess God and propositional logic go hand in hand.
To continue that thought, remember this is in Leviticus, which is written by the priests, and so they have a let's say a stake in the getting the people to remain holy and to remain religious.
So I want to respond to what Aaron said, which is, if I'm holy, that must mean that you're not. And I think that's a completely unaskable, irrelevant question, because holiness is about between me and God, or my conscience or whatever I want to call it. I really have no control over what you or anyone else does. And we can act with propriety and holiness regardless of what everybody else does. So I don't think it matters to say if they're not holy.
So the tradition isn't concerned with the issue, or at least in this verse, it's not.
Well, I think within ourselves,
right.
Because we can't control it, so why ask?
Well, and I don't think it's necessarily contained in this verse, but it's contained in the tradition that all the people of the earth are God's children. We just happen to have this particular revelation given to us. And so that doesn't mean that everybody who's not Jewish is not holy, okay, in that inherent sense, okay? And it doesn't even mean, and we also have the Noahide laws, which say, here's the basics. If you are following the basics, and they're pretty universal moral principles with maybe a couple exceptions, then, you're inside the circle. So I just don't see us as an exclusionary religion.
There is a path to holiness from this place, but there is no claim that it is the only path.
Is that on? Oh, yeah. So my question is God holy by his own or their own definition? Because there's lots of places in the Torah where God seems to act irrationally or unjustly, or has built such an overly rational system that it's impossible to keep, and the punishments are incredibly disproportionate to someone who is just like trying their best, so or just got it wrong but didn't really mean to. So it just then that says to me that we're in the image of God, we are flawed, and God is also flawed. And in fact, our challenge is to sort of point out when we've gone too far, or when someone's gone too far, or where injustice is happening, and that's part of holiness too. And that people who aren't doing these laws to the letter are not necessarily not holy. Maybe it's God's unholiness that is making them so intricate and impossible, and not necessarily always about the best interest of human beings.
Right, so are you going to go, Rob?
I was just going to say, the way I read it, and I can't read the Hebrew very well or parse it, but it's definitional. God is holy. Holy is God. Whatever the action is, it's holy. I'm not comfortable with that, but to me, it's definitional.
Does it change if God's name is a verb?
to be. See, that's why I need to understand the syntax of the Hebrew better.
It's an interesting question. It was just a question. Final comments about this? I want to, Stephanie, follow up on a little bit what you said and then have it lead us back around. My children are calling me from my office phone downstairs. It says Shir Tikvah is calling me, and I happen to know where my kids are. So I apologize. No, Todd, synagogue president. Thank you. Is also father of children roughly the same age. If you could ask them to stop calling me, please. No, so grandma had to leave on a bubby, just to clarify. If she heard me call her grandmother on the internet, I would be done for. Bubby had to leave on a flight that was supposed to take off at 8:30, but got 2 hours delayed. So she was here. Anyway, she's moving here in August. We're very excited. Sorry, while we're on my life. So it's a holy mess, that's for sure. So Stephanie, you talked about perfection, right? And this question of holiness and perfection and the interrelationship between them. And does one necessitate the other? Or does God's behavior define holiness, in which case it may be defined in ways that don't make us feel particularly comfortable, right? And so this text seems to be an invitation to question all of this, right? To say to yourself, because THU is a conditional form, because we will be is conditional, well, what does that mean about how we behave? But what does it mean about when we've been taught to behave in ways that we don't feel comfortable with, right? It puts a whole question into the action scheme. And when it says that we are holy, did they burn the building down? Good. Mm-hmm. You think we'd know? I think so too. That's why I would hope so too. And we were going to test Dan's exit strategy if we had to, but hopefully we don't. Do they need me? How much longer till we're done? 5 minutes tops.
I'll tell Dee.
Thanks. You hired a mother. And anybody knows if Dee Dee gives you a message and you don't deliver it, you're in trouble. So this question about what it means to be holy and to act holy, right? And whether those two are inherently interrelated and how each of us chooses to relate to them, both within ourselves. So often we hold ourselves to the standard of perfection, right? And is perfect what it means or what it needs to be holy? Or is perfect some ideal that isn't being held out in this form to us? Seems to me to be a blessing in its own right. An opportunity for us as we enter another Shabbat in our community to wonder what it would be if we really believed this. If we really lived for one day a week, that within each of us was something that was, you weren't able to mar it, right? It was pure. There was a goodness within you. And to know that every action that you choose or participate is an opportunity and it's conditional. It seems to me that that gives us a chance to be in this world in a different way. Not about what we achieve. Not about if our kids behave when we leave them in an office downstairs, say. Or even if our visions of what was supposed to be come true. But instead, it allows us to see where we are as holy and where we might yet be as an opportunity, and one that we have some, not control, but we get to steer a little bit where we head. Wouldn't the world be a beautiful place if we all did that for a day? So I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom, a Shabbat of peace, of holiness, of community. I have a bet with Dan that I have to pay off now because I sent him 12 slides of text and he wrote back, how many do you think we're going to get through? And I said 1.5 and we did not. So, so we are going to one of these days get to all these texts. If you want to talk text, because I spent so much time this week in these texts and so many of you picked up pieces that our tradition has sitting there, but I find it more interesting to hear it from you. But if you want to talk text after or during the Oneg, please let me know, and I'm happy to share my slides and talk text with you. And always email me if you ever want the slides. They're always available. We are going to do a couple announcements and then Kiddush and Motzi, and we're going to enjoy some cookies together. Announcement is next Friday night. Do you want to make the announcement?
Find out what 2 days it really thinks about good and evil.
Perfect. And on Sunday, some will be joining. There's a brunch where we have the opportunity to learn from Rabbi Yael Levy, who is teaching our Connections retreat, co-teaching with Beth this weekend. So hopefully some of you will be joining us there. Any other announcements? Torah study tomorrow.
Sort of like this.
Right. It's not the weekly parsha anymore. Do we have the full one by any chance? I like the full one. I just want us to all be able to do it. If it is your custom, some people rise for Kiddush, some people sit. It doesn't matter to me, but you're welcome to do what is a custom in your family and tradition, and please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava v'ratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lemase v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikrei kodesh zecher l'tziyat mitzrayim ki vanu v'charta v'tanu kidashta mikol a motzi, so reach out if it's okay with your neighbor, make connection. If it's not, you can make eye contact of support and connection. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Anybody want the first bite of challah?